Imagine you are standing in the dust of southwest Iran in 1901, watching a team of French archaeologists strike iron against stone. They have just unearthed a monolith of black basalt, 7.5 feet tall, covered in the tight, angular script of a forgotten age. This is the Code of Hammurabi, the most famous law book in human history. But this stone belongs in Babylon. It has been found nearly 300 miles away in the city of Susa. You are looking at the evidence of a ghost empire that walked into the heart of Mesopotamia, stole its laws, and vanished so completely, history spent 3,000 years trying to forget it. To understand the ghost, you must look at the land where it first took breath. Long before the first pyramid rose in Egypt, a series of villages took root on a flat, brown plain. By 4200 BC, those villages had coalesced into Susa, a global trade terminal. Exposed to raids, yet it grew. In this harsh crucible, the Elamites achieved something that has only happened 5 other times. They invented writing entirely on their own. We call it Proto-Elamite, a script of over 1,000 signs. After 4 millennia, those tablets remain silent in our museums. Elam is a stranger to the world's family trees. Elamite remains a complete linguistic isolate with no known relatives. This isolation defined their spirit. The historical record opens with an act of violence against them. In 2650 BC, a Sumerian king carrying away the weapons of Elam. For the next 2,000 years, the great powers of antiquity tried to break them. But Elam was not just a victim, it was a predator. Around 1158 BC, an Elamite king named Shutruk-Nakute marched into Babylon and physically took the law home. He hauled the basalt stele of Hammurabi back to Susa as a trophy of war, a thief signing his name over stolen art. For a brief window, the Elamite standard flew from the Zagros Mountains to the Tigris. This aggression would eventually invite a reckoning of biblical proportions from an industrialized war machine of iron. The Assyrian king Sennacherib launched the first amphibious invasion, sailing down the Tigris to strike the Elamite coast. But it was his grandson, Ashurbanipal, who sought the final solution to the Elamite problem. In 639 BC, he came to erase. Ashurbanipal's armies stripped the gold off the Elamite gods, dragged the bones of their kings out of the royal tombs, and chiseled their sacred writing off every monument. He sowed the fields with salt and poison, so the soil would never feed another generation. He boasted that he had banished the noise of people from the plains, leaving them to the wild asses and gazelles. The record of history closed. To the Assyrians, Elam was over. But the Assyrians were about to learn that you cannot kill a ghost. Within a single generation of Ashurbanipal's boast, the city of Nineveh was burned to ash, and the Assyrian Empire vanished forever. Susa, however, remained inhabited. A century later, Cyrus the Great walked into Babylon and ended an era. When Cyrus issued his famous cylinder, he did not call himself King of Persia. 4 times he called himself the King of Anshan. The Persians did not replace Elam.
Together, my brother.
They became the
Until
vessel
the end,
for its
we hold
resurrection.
this line.
Darius the Great built his winter capital not at Persepolis, but at Susa, on the same Acropolis where Elamite pottery was buried 4,000 years prior. The ceremonial heart of the Persian Empire was administered day to day in the language Ashurbanipal had tried to silence. Archaeological excavations at Persepolis have uncovered nearly 18,000 tablets, the bureaucratic records of a vast empire, all written in Elamite. The voice of the ghost was the software running the Persian machine.
When Darius carved the longest royal inscription at Behistun, he wrote it in 3 languages, giving Elamite the central place on the wall.
The conquerors who claimed to have erased this people had only succeeded in forcing them to become something else. Today, the bricks of the great Elamite ziggurat at Chogazan Beal still stand in their courses, baking in the same sun. The basalt stele of Hammurabi sits in the Louvre, still bearing the label that it was found in Susa, a silent witness to the heist that once shook the world.
History tells us that empires end when their cities fall and their languages fade. But the story of Elam suggests that real power is more durable than stone.
The Persians conquered the known world, but they did it using the roads, the bureaucracy, and the very words of the people they were supposed to have replaced. We look back at the map of ancient Persia and see a monolith. But look closer, and you will see the shimmer of a ghost. Elam reminds us that sometimes disappearing is just another way of becoming eternal.